Hello everyone and welcome to today's Wild Rift Champion Guide. In today's guide we're going to be taking a look at Akshan. Akshan is a marksman that is primarily played in the mid lane but can also be played down in the duo lane as well. The reason why Akshan is not really played too much down in the duo lane compared to mid lane is sometimes it can be really hard to play aggressively and swing around, especially if you're against supports like Thresh, Alistar and Leona that could quickly jump onto you, crowd control you and burst you in an instant. With Akshan, he's a very aggressive and very mobile champion that likes to swing around and jump on top of enemies. But most of the time in the mid lane, you can play aggressively and you don't have to worry about any sort of crowd control. But like I said, in the duo lane, it can be a little bit of a struggle. Taking a quick look through the Akshan build. With this build, you like to focus more on crit, getting a lot of attack speed and getting a lot of damage as well. You got items like Blade of the Ruin King, which is really good to give you a little bit of attack damage, attack speed, a little bit of physical vamp as well, which is always very helpful. And you also, Blade of the Ruin King just has great passes as well for Akshan. Obviously dealing bonus physical damage based on the enemy's current health, and also the Drain passive, which allows Akshan to speed up a little bit and allows him to chase down enemies a lot quicker. You got items like Slurry Charge Blade, which is really good because you get 50% crit every single time you use an ability. This could be really good if you get resets on your third ability, Heroic Swing. You'll be able to swing multiple times and proc the passive of Slurry Charge Blade to give you that little bit of extra damage. For the boots, most of the time you want to go for Proto Belts. Proto Belt just gives you that little bit of extra dash to dash away to safety or to dash forward as well to try and maybe give you a kill or two. In terms of the boots itself, you can go for many different options. If you want more physical vamp, then you can go for the Gluttonous Greaves. Defensive boots are really good as well. Mercury Treads, Plated Steel Caps, or even Lucidity boots as well to get a little bit more ability haste. Like I said, kind of depends on the situation. You just need to adapt depending on the enemy team. Items like Witsend as well, a lot of attack speed. You get magic resistance as well, which is really good most of the time in the mid lane, especially if you're against like an Orianna, a Diana or something like that. You need that little bit of extra magic resistance to kind of survive. You can swap around the two items as well, Witsend and Slurry Charge Blade. So say for example you are against Orianna, you do kind of fall behind a little bit early. You can go for Witsend as a second item and then build Slurry Charge Blade straight after that. Infinity Edge as well, giving you the crit, giving you the attack damage and allowing your critical strikes to deal more damage as well, which works hand in hand with Solari Charge Blade. And then you have Mortal Reminder as a final item. You can change this to Serrader's Grudge if you don't need any grievous wounds, you don't need any anti-heal. There's not really a lot of healing on the enemy team. Grudge also works really well because you're able to get the slow on your abilities, which can be quite helpful. Going to another build as well. This is a build that's kind of been rising a little bit. This is more of like a tanky bruiser Akshan, you could say. It still has some of the items that I've mentioned already, like Blade of the Ruin King. As I said, it's just an overall great item. Serrader's Grudge, as I mentioned, is really nice for the slows. You can go for Mortal Reminder if you need the anti-heal. You got items like Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver is just a really strong item overall. Just being able to, you know, when you deal physical damage to a champion, reducing their armor, which is very helpful. And obviously you got the Rage passive as well to give Akshan a little bit of extra movement speed. Obviously you get like the extra health, you get the attack damage, the ability haste as well, which is very helpful. Again, the boots are pretty much the same. You got Death Stance as well for more physical vamp, and mainly most of the time Death Stance is really used for the passive, especially against assassin champions like Rengar, Kha'Zix, champions like that. Death Stance could be very helpful, but 30% of the damage taken is instead dealt as bleed damage over effect for 3 seconds. So if you proc your passive, for example, that bleed effect will just go through your shield instead of your health, which can obviously work really well. And then you have Guardian Angel as well, just for that resurrect in the late game, which can be very helpful. So yeah, I mean, depending on the sort of play style and how you want to play Akshan, if you want to play more aggressively, if you want to do more damage, and then you can go for this build. If you want to be a little bit more tanky, if you want to focus more on survivability, maybe you're learning Akshan for the first time, I'd probably recommend this build. Now, looking at the runes are pretty much the same. I think they are exactly the same. Yeah, they're pretty much exactly the same for both these builds. Conqueror is still really good rune, just gaining them adaptive 4 stacks, and at 5 stacks you'll be able to deal more damage, which is quite nice. Brutal is actually really good for Akshan. In the early game, Akshan does a lot of damage, and most of the time you'll win out trades in the early game, especially in the mid lane. If you want to, if you don't feel like you need the early game damage, you can go for Hunter Vampirism as well, just for the scaling AD and physical vamp when you get takedowns. Like I said, most of the time, Brutal is really good just because you want that little bit of extra early game damage, trying to get an advantage early on. Speaking of advantages, Adaptive Carapace as well is also another great rune, just to get that little bit of an advantage early on. You gain the health in the early game, which is really good, and you also gain armor or magic resist based on the damage type you took more of over the last 60 seconds. So again, it's more about trading in the laner phase, trying to get that advantage in the early game, because if you can get the items with Akshan, and if you can scale into the mid and the late game, you can swing around and do a lot of damage. And then you have Sweet Tooth as well for the laning phase, which increases the honey fruit healing by 25%. And whenever you are nearby ally, take the honey fruit, you can gain that little bit of extra gold. For the spells, flash, pretty self-explanatory. You can flash away, flash forward at any time. You can go for barrier if you want to, if you feel like you want to play a bit more defensively. You can also go ignite as well. Ignite is quite good for Akshan, especially because most of the time when you swing around, you get into ignite range. Sometimes when you see barriers on champions like Ziggs or Orianna, for example, it's just because they can stay back, and most of the time they won't be able to get into ignite range, and if they do, sometimes they can step a little bit too far. But with Akshan, you like to swing around, you like to play aggressively and jump on top of enemy champions, so ignite can also be really, really good. But that's pretty much everything for the build. Now it's time to take a look at all the abilities. First off, let's take a look at Akshan's passive, which is Dirty Fighting. It has two parts to it. The first part is every 3 hits from attacks and abilities deal additional magic damage, and against champions he also gains a shield. This is what makes Akshan really, really strong, and why he can play so aggressively during the laning phase, because most of the time you win out trades because of the extra shield that you get. As you can see, if I also attack 3 times, you can see that I get that shield. Now, the most important part about this part of the passive is that underneath your mana bar, you can see at the moment Akshan has a yellow bar. When you use the passive, or when you proc the passive, you can see that the yellow bar goes away. So this is a cooldown for your passive. So every time the bar turns yellow underneath your mana bar, you know that the passive is up and available. So making sure that you proc this as much as possible, especially during team fights and in the laning phase, will allow you to win trades a lot easier. And then you have the second part of the passive. I nearly got ahead of myself for a second there. And the second part of the passive is after launching an attack, Akshan will fire a second auto attack, which will deal less physical damage. But instead, you can also just auto attack once, and you can cancel the second shot, and this will allow Akshan to gain more movement speed. So you can see the difference here. If I just stand still and auto attack, you can see that I'm just double attacking every single time. But if you move around, if you just auto attack once, you just press the auto attack ability, button once, you can see that I'm just getting movement speed over time as well. So making sure you know the difference between the two. Like sometimes you can double auto attack and quickly move afterwards, but it is very, very risky. Most of the time, you just want to auto attack once, especially during team fights, so you're able to move around and kite around a lot easier. But if you feel really safe, if you can use a double auto attack, then you could do a lot more damage, so I'd highly recommend it. Moving on to Akshan's first ability, we have Avengerang. It throws a boomerang that deals physical damage, extending the range each time it hits an enemy, so that includes minions as well. Hits grant Akshan more movement speed as well, so you can get movement speed from Avengerang and also the passive, and it deals 90% damage to minions. So it's just a pretty simple self-explanatory ability. As you can see, the range is not really that long. When you hit a champion, it can extend if you hit champions, and if you hit minions as well at the same time. You can see I can hit double minions at the same time, and it will also use 2 parts of your passive as well. If you hit both the boomerang going forward and hitting back as well, all you need to do is just auto attack once and you'll proc the passive. You can also do this the other way around as well. You can double auto attack and then use your first ability afterwards to proc the passive. For the second ability, we have Going Rogue. It has both a passive and an active. The passive is kind of the annoying part about Akshan and what everyone really hates about Akshan. Enemies that kill allied champions become scoundrels for 40 seconds. When a scoundrel dies within a few seconds of being damaged by Akshan, Akshan gains gold and revives the slain ally. So for example, if a Master Yi was to come into a team fight, get a quadra kill, but then you go to that Master Yi and within 40 seconds you kill the Master Yi, you can then revive all 4 of the teammates that he's just killed. So as you can tell, it could get into a little bit of a crazy situation where you can revive teammates all the time. You could get a lot of gold as well. Obviously, you get bonus gold from it, which is always really helpful. Yeah, it's a really, really annoying passive, but it is a passive that is on the champion and can be quite annoying. You also have an active as well. Become camouflage for just under 2 seconds. You gain movement speed towards scoundrels. And the duration is infinite while Akshan is near terrain or in bushes, which is kind of the important part. So when you're roaming around with Akshan, when you're using your second ability, as you can see, if I'm not near any terrain, you can see that the circle expires, the one that is underneath Akshan. If I use the first ability, if it's about to go on cooldown, I can walk near terrain, as you can see here. I can walk in bushes as well. And as long as I'm near terrain, you can see that the circle disappears underneath. This means that I can stay invisible for as long as I want. So when you're roaming around, you need to make sure that you're going in the bushes, you're going towards the terrain as well, so you stay invisible the whole time. This basically turns you into an Evelyn when you're ganking. So you can do this, you can gank a lane, you can then use your third ability afterwards to try and gank a lane, or try and get a bit of damage off. Moving on to Heroic Swing, which is Akshan's third ability. It fires a hook to attach and swing around terrain, attacking the nearest enemy for physical damage per shot. If Akshan collides with an enemy champion or terrain, he will jump off the rope. You can recast the ability at any time as well to jump off the rope manually, which is really important, especially if you feel like you might go a little bit too far. Champion takedowns refresh this ability, so this means most of the time you want to use the ability at the start of a team fight, maybe to play aggressively, and if you do get a takedown, it will refresh the ability so you can use it again to go forward or go backwards. The ability prioritizes champions recently damaged by Akshan. On hit effects, so like the Bladed Rune King passive for example, deal 25% damage, and each shot can critically strike, which is really important, especially when you're going for the crit Akshan build. Now for the ability, if I aim the ability, you can see I can aim it pretty much wherever I want to, and I can activate it wherever I want to. So sometimes you need to be a little bit careful if you feel like you're not going to hit a terrain. But when you hit on the terrain, you can see that there is a dotted line. Now that dotted line will allow you to see which direction you'll move to. Now the direction you move to depends on where you move with your left thumb or left finger or whatever you want to call it. I'll just call it left analog stick for now. If I move towards the bottom, towards my tower, then I'll swing towards this way. But if I start to move towards the top side, as you can see, towards the dummies, then it will swing towards in that direction. As you can see, as I swing, it will attack the target dummies as well. So making sure you hit terrain is really important. So sometimes when you use the hook shot, sometimes you might get in a situation where you might hit terrain like this, for example. If you do, as you can see, you will jump off automatically. But you can also activate this ability as well to manually jump off. So if you just don't want to go too far, if you want to jump off and then use auto attacks and use your first ability afterwards, you can do that if you want to. Like I said, just making sure that you use that really efficiently, like that for example. When you use your third ability, you need to make sure you get as many shots as possible, and then when you jump off, you can jump off in any direction as well, again depending on where your left analog stick is aiming. And lastly, we have Akshan's ultimate, which is Comeuppance. Locks onto an enemy champion, charging 7 shots over a few seconds. You can recast the ability as well, which fires the shots dealing physical damage to the first enemy or structure hit, increased by up to a lot more physical damage based on the target's missing health. So most of the time you want to wait and use this ability right at the end of a team fight. You could tell there as well that it's actually the first enemy or structure hit, so you need to be careful because this ultimate can be blocked by minions, by jungle creeps, and also by structures like towers as well. So when you use this ability, you want to use your other abilities as well, sometimes even your flash, to try and reposition so you get to land all of the shots. Each shot's damage is further increased by percentage equal to 50% of your critical rate. So again, prioritizing more towards crit is normally the way to go, and shots can also execute minions. But as you can see, the ultimate is pretty self-explanatory. It does have a lot of a range as well. As you can see, the range is really long. Obviously the fog of war is a bit of a pain at the moment, and as you can see, you can move around when using the ultimate, but when the charged shots expire, you can see that you stand still and you can't move anymore. So you can see you can recast the ability as well, which won't do as much damage, but sometimes it's nice to get a quick a bunch of burst damage. And you can also use other abilities as well, so you can use your third ability whilst charging. You can also flash as well if you really want to try and reposition. And as you can see, you can move as far away as possible. Now with the skill order with Akshan, it works a little bit differently because most of the time you don't want to take your second ability until level 7. At level 1, you want to focus on your first ability. This will allow you to poke down the enemy champion in the early laning phase and allow you to easily proc your passive. Then at level 2, you want to go for your third ability, just so you're able to swing around. And then after that, you actually want to take more points into your first and your second ability. You could do this whatever way around you want to, whatever you feel more comfortable with. You can max your first ability if you just want to play a bit more safe and you want to get more damage with the first ability. If you feel more confident, then you can put more points into your third ability. You get your ultimate at level 5, and then after this, you can put another point in your third ability if you want to, and you can go like this, so you can max your third ability first if you want to, or you could do it the other way around. You could do it so then you max your first ability instead, so after you get 2 points in each, you go for your level 5, and then you put 2 points in your first ability. So again, it depends whatever way around you want to. Then most of the time at level 8 or at level 7, if you want to get it beforehand, you get your second ability. The reason why you don't take your second ability until this late on is because most of the time you don't want to roam around that early in the laning phase. Most of the time you just want to trade against the enemy champion, try and get an advantage in the laning phase, which leveling up your first ability and your third ability will give you the most advantage for that. Then after that, obviously, you want to make sure you level up your other ability and then level up your second ability last, as this doesn't really do that much at all in terms of leveling up the second ability. All right, on to the gameplay with Akshan. Now, I know I did mention that most of the time you don't really see Akshan down in the duo lane, but this is one of the games that I actually played Akshan down in the duo lane, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, what Akshan can actually do in a duo lane and why sometimes he can be really strong. Now, in this game, we were against a Lucian Nami, which is quite hard. We are playing Akshan and Lulu. So I just want to look from kind of my perspective from this game to see how the game pans out and see what sort of decisions I make. Unfortunately, the mid laner gets first blooded early on. So a little bit unfortunate there that we're going to fall a little bit far behind in terms of the mid lane. But to start things off, we're just going towards the lane, getting a few minions. You can see Jarvan started top side, so just farming a few minions. You can see that Lucian did miss the first creep, but he did get experience from first blood, so he's not going to be too far behind. But the main thing with Akshan in the laning phase is that obviously most of the time you just want to proc your passive as much as possible to try and get the extra damage and try and get the extra shield that you can get from the passive. Unfortunately, the top laner does die as well, so we're not having the best of starts to this game. As you can see, sometimes you can play aggressively like I'm doing here. You can swing around and try and use your swing and your passive and even your first ability to get a little bit of a shield and the extra damage as soon as possible. In that situation, obviously, the main thing to note when you're trying to swing in with Akshan is you need to make sure that you don't you don't jump in when you know that there's any sort of crowd control or anything available. Because if you jump in and say, for example, the Nami bubble is available, then you're going to be in really, really big trouble. You can see here, the Nami bubble has been used, so I can start to play aggressive if I want to, but I am quite low on health. So just for now, I'm going to go back and take the honey fruit healing. So for now, I mean, Fizz does die again in top lane, unfortunately. It's another death for the Fizz up in the top lane. You can see, for now, we're just looking to try and push the lane. Unfortunately, the jungler is kind of a bit caught out here in the jungle, as you can see in the river. Unfortunately, he does go down as well. So we're not having the best of starts to this game. We're already like nearly, what, 3,000 gold, 2,000 gold behind? Well, over 2,000 gold behind at the moment. Not the best of starts. Mid lane dies as well. So we're 0-5 this game. Obviously, for us in duo lane, it has, it's been an okay start for us. We're able to push out this lane here and deny Lucian some minions, which is quite good. I think I go back here now as well. So in the duo lane, I like to go for the crit build with Akshan. Just try and get as much damage as possible, especially because I have a Lulu with me as well. That can shield me, give me all the health that I need. As you can see, I've gone for the Vampiric Scepter and also the dagger early on just to get as much damage as possible. You can see my leveling as well. I got 2 points in my Q and 2 points in my E. I haven't gone for my second ability. As mentioned, most of the time you don't need to go for your second ability this early on because you're not going to be roaming around that much during a laning phase and you're not going to be using the invisibility too much. And to be fair, the passive part of the second ability is not really that useful in the early game because the cooldown of the death timer is already really, really low as it is. As you can see, for now, I'm just pushing out the laning phase, just trying to last hit as many minions as possible. You can see that Nami used her bubble, so I'm trying to play aggressive here, trying to proc the passive shield. And as you can see, on top of the Lulu shield as well, I can pretty much win the trades every single time. So you can see, it's always about the decision-making with Akshan. When the bubble's been used, when I'm able to jump in, it can be really, really nice. So you can see, I win another trade here with Nami. She uses the bubble again, so I could dash in if I had it up and available if I wanted to. But that's only really the CC that Nami and Lucian have. They do have the wave available as well. You can see Akshan uses the culling. Lucian is here, Jarvan's here, sorry, to try and gank us, but we both still have flash available. You can see that I'm able to use my double shots and dodge the bubble constantly. As you can see, we're actually doing pretty well in this trade, to be honest. I used my ultimate to try and zone out the Jarvan. Unfortunately, some of the minions do block it. But as you can see, we're in a pretty good spot. Unfortunately, I didn't really see the Jace here, but we do trade kills, and Lulu comes back alive from my second ability, from the passive. You can see there, because Jace was a scoundrel, because I killed him. It was quite nice. I try and jump on here onto Nami. Wasn't the best play because I didn't realize Lucian was in the bush as well. So I was like, oh no, I need to escape here. I need to run away. I try and use invisibility to get to safety. I get hit by the Nami bubble. But Lulu is here to save the day. Is able to shield me, is able to speed me up and give me a little bit of attack speed. So we get a few kills under our belt. I think that's 2 kills now for me, which is in a pretty decent spot. I think I got 2 kills in that situation, if I remember correctly. No, we got 1 kill and 1 assist in that situation. So not bad. We got the Blade of Ruin King up and available now. We also got our boots as well, so we can get to lane faster. As you can see on the whole scoreboard, the whole scoreboard at the moment is not looking too hot. Fizz is already 0-3. Ziggs is already 0-3 in mid lane as well. So it's not the best of early games so far. You can see that the enemy team is now going for the dragon. So going to be getting that, and it looks like our jungler is going towards the Rift Herald, which is not too bad. You know, you can trade the dragon for the Rift Herald. It's not too bad overall. The Nami is going to be coming back up to the lane as well. So as you can see in the laning phase so far, it hasn't actually gone too bad. Unfortunately, I get hit by the bubble there, but with a Lulu in the laning phase, most of the time I'll be completely fine because you can stack the Lulu shield on top of the Akshan shield as well, the Pasha shield at the same time. You see for now that I'm using my second ability to try and roam and try and take the Scuttle Crab. I was using my second ability there just in case the jungler was here, but you can see most of the time I'm using my double shots because my double shots is going to do more damage. Take the Scuttle Crab, take that little bit of extra experience and extra gold, and then for now I'm just going to push this mid wave. You see, I proc the Blade of Ruin King. The great part is as well is that when you proc the passive with Akshan, you also proc the Blade of Ruin King passive. So you get the movement speed from your auto attacks, you get your movement speed from the passive, you also get the movement speed from the Blade of Ruin King as well, and you also get the shield on top of it as well. So a lot of movement speed, a lot of shields available to Akshan, which can make him really, really annoying. But this is kind of why, in my opinion, you know, Akshan is not really that good in the duo lane because, as you can see, I can't really make plays. I can't really dash in and make them 1v1 outplays, whereas in the mid lane, most of the time, you have that opportunity to dash in to be able to try and get that 1v1 outplay. But for now, we're in the duo lane. We're playing Akshan in the duo lane. Unfortunately, Fizz does die again. I think it's like the 5th time already this game. So Fizz is not having the best start to this game. Let's see what we have available to us now. We're probably going to go towards, yeah. So I went for the Executioner's Calling. This is something that you could do that I didn't really mention in the build. Obviously, Nami has quite a lot of healing. Jarvan, it might be building a little bit of healing as well. Lucian's going to get healing, and obviously the Fiora as well is also going to build some healing, like Blade of Ruin King, and also has healing from her passive. Or her first ability. I can't remember actually. Is it a first ability or is it a passive? I can't remember exactly. As you can see, a lot of healing on the enemy team. So I go for Executioner's Calling, and I also go for Armor Boots. Because you've got Lucian, Fiora, Jarvan, and Jace. All of these champions do AD damage, so going for Armor Boots in this situation is a really, really good call. And like I said, I got the healing reduction now as well. So champions like Nami and Fiora, etc. can't really do that much. So for now, I'm roaming towards the mid lane, trying to get catch out on a champion here. Because I can see that Nami is inside the bush. Hits the bubble, but doesn't really get anything else going. Jarvan is behind us as well. So I'm a bit of a difficult spot, so I flash away. Because I thought that maybe Jarvan might have had his ultimate available. Master Yi jumps in, but can't really do too much. And unfortunately, like I said, this is one of the problems with Akshan. Is that you need to make sure you know when crowd control is up and available. You see here, I try to use my ultimate to try and kill the Lucian, but she is really, really low on HP. Both Nami and Lucian is both 1 HP, unfortunately. My Lulu's trying to speed me up, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get ahead. And yeah, that's one of the kind of the struggles with Akshan sometimes is you need to always keep an eye on the crowd control on the enemy team because there might be a situation like that. To be honest, the enemy could have capitalized a lot more on me trying to dash in and getting hit by a bubble. They can maybe put me out and try to get a kill, but luckily for me, I didn't die, which is quite a good thing. Luckily for me, I didn't die, and lucky for me, we are still doing pretty good this game. We are currently, let's see our score real quickly. I don't want to slow down the game. We're currently 1-0 on 1. We're currently on about 7,000 goals, so we're still a little bit behind on the Fiora, who's fed on the enemy team. As you can see, 5 and 2. But other than that, we're pretty much ahead. You know, we're really, really far ahead of the Lucian. Actually, over 1,000 goal difference between me and the Lucian at the moment. But unfortunately for the rest of the map, it's not looking too hot, really, to be honest. It's not looking too hot at all. The rest of the map is kind of falling to pieces at the moment. You can see that I'm going to go for Solari Charge Blade as the second item. I don't really need to build Wit's End as the second item in this game because there's not really much magic damage except for Nami. As you can see, I got the components now of Solari Charge Blade, the Stinger, and also the Crit Cloak. You can see that I'm trying to play aggressive here onto Nami. Unfortunately, Jarvan was here as well to give a helping hand. The ultimate comes down, but the Lulu is here to save the day. Lulu was able to ultimate and able to save me with the shield. So a little bit of an overstep there. Again, I didn't really realize that Jarvan was, again, over the other side. So sometimes, again, you need to be careful when you use that swing aggressively. Sometimes you can get in a bit of a difficult situation. But I'm going to go towards the bot lane for now and try and get as much farm and as much gold as possible. Obviously, we're still like 6,000 gold behind. I know Fiora's in this bush, so I know that I can try and make a play onto Fiora. Unfortunately, she is able to jump away from the Blast and Co. But you can see how much damage we can actually do with Akshan. If I'm able to proc the passive, I actually missed a swing shot there. If we can proc the passive and if we can double auto attack as well with the passive, it could definitely come in handy. And trying to get the tower here, we're probably going to get the tower in the Dura lane. So again, just funneling more gold onto me at the moment, which is all going to be really, really good. Fiora's in the bush trying to catch us out, but I don't think Fiora can 1v2 here. So instead, I missed the ward. So I don't actually know Fiora's there, but now I know Fiora's there. But the dragon has been taken, but we can't really contest the dragon. That's kind of the problem because we're so far behind on gold. We're like, what, we like 5,000 plus gold behind at the moment, so it's really hard for us to contest objectives. So what we're doing, we're just roaming around and we're just trying to get some extra gold from the rest of the map. So Solari Charge Blade is completed now. We also have the Proto Belt, which could come in handy, excuse me, in this game as well. You see I'm using my invisibility at the moment to try and get some picks off if I can. I can see the Jace is a little bit out of position. So I go in here. The Jace knocks away knocks me away. And luckily for me, I survived that because Jace was able to knock me away from the Jarvan knockup. As you can see, again, playing a little bit aggressively, but that's sometimes what you need to do with Akshan. But I know that I have my Lulu by my side anyway, so most of the time I'll be okay. Using the swing shot again to try and catch onto the Jace. I think I Protobelt forward here as well. Unfortunately, I missed my Q, but I think we do pick off the Jace in the end as well with a double auto attack. And now I have my resets on my third ability, which I unfortunately missed. I can see Jarvan there as well. Really, really nice shielding by the Lulu. And I get the nice, easy double kill. Unfortunately, I did miss the swing shot. I was trying to swing towards the Lucian and the Nami, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. You can see here that the healing is doing work. The healing reduction, sorry, is doing work. The execution is calling. That means that Fiora wasn't able to heal as much as what she could from her ultimate because I had the execution is calling. So I was able to reduce her healing. But you can see now, I have a lot of gold this game. I'm going to go back. I'm probably going to build the components for the Wit's End, which you can see. You can see the gold difference now. I'm actually ahead on Fiora in gold. I have a lot of gold under my belt. 4, 0, and 1. But you can see, like, my top laner, for example, 1, 8. Not really the best of positions to be in, not going to lie. But I'm in a position where I could potentially carry this game, especially with a Lulu by my side as well. I could try my best to try and be the main damage carry, which sometimes Akshan can be, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult for Akshan to be the main carry because you have to play quite aggressively, because you have to use the swing shot as much as you can. You can see here, I'm trying to use the swing shot again to try and play aggressively. I Protobelt away as well, so I don't get caught by the Lucian. You can see I use my ultimate here, and my ultimate actually catches out the Jace because he doesn't stand in between the jungle creeps. If he went towards the raptors right here, if he stood maybe in between the raptors, I think he would have been fine. I think he would have survived. But maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he doesn't know that the jungle creeps can actually block the ultimate. So I'm going towards the Jarvan now, trying to get tower dive onto the Jarvan. I get the Lulu ultimate as well. I'm trying my best to kill the Jarvan, but unfortunately I wasn't able to kill the Jarvan. So I'm just clearing out the minion wave. I'm going to look to try and get the mid lane tower eventually when the minions get there. As you can see, mid lane tower is now going to be taken. Fiora has been a bit of a nuisance in the bot lane. Luckily for us, the Ziggs was up and available to wave clear. That's the great thing about Ziggs as well. Ziggs can just wave clear as much as possible. So yeah, we're in a pretty good spot at the moment. You know, Dura lane Akshan doing some work here at the moment. You can see my my swings and roundabouts this game as well, as Mossy is taking the jungle farm. I'm trying to get basically as much farm as possible, whether it be from the jungle creeps, whether it be from the minions, whether it be from farming champions as well. I'm in a spot now where I've got Blade Rune King, Solari Charge Blade, Wits End, so I have a lot of attack speed. I have a lot of damage as well from the Solari Charge Blade crits. Now for the next item, I'm going to go for the Infinity Edge, which is going to give us even more crit as well and even more damage, which is going to be really, really nice. But we're in a position in this game now where, you know, we're still behind on gold, but I'm definitely in a position where I could carry, even though my top laner is like 1 and 8, I think, at this point. As long as my Lulu keeps shielding me, keeps healing me, then we should be in a pretty good spot. You can see Fizz here walks forward, gets caught out. A little bit obvious. This is why I didn't really walk forward, to be honest. I knew that if I walked forward here, I know that they were going to probably be in a bush. You can see here, I'm trying to use my movement speed to kite around the enemy champions. I was able to dodge the Nami wave, did a little bit of damage, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. Try and use my ultimate as well, but unfortunately the champion died before I used my ultimate. So a little bit of a misplay by the Fizz. I mean, like I said, I didn't walk forward because I thought that maybe it would be kind of obvious that, you know, they might have been camping in the bush. We didn't have vision, but in a situation like that, when you don't have any vision around the river, it's really important to make sure that you don't actually face check or anything like that. You can see that the bubble misses, so I start to play aggressive because I know that they don't have any sort of crowd control. I try and use my ultimate again to finish them off, and unfortunately I couldn't. Nami tries to flash in. I flashed the Nami bubble to try and get away to safety. So, a few little, you know, aggressive plays again, that kind of limit testing in a way. Sometimes that's what I do on these champions because I don't really play Akshan a lot, to be honest. So, I like to limit test on champions like these to see how much damage I can do and see what I can actually offer to the team. So, yeah, at the moment, 15 minutes into the game, we're still 5,000 gold behind with 3 dragons to 0 down as well. You can see that I'm just trying to get as much farm as possible for my jungle camps, because I know that if I get as much gold as possible and if I can carry this game, then it would be a tuber, as I call it. You like to call it a tuber around here, but yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't record this game though, which is a little bit annoying. I think this was the first game on my stream, and unfortunately, I didn't record it because I just completely forgot to record. So this is why I'm looking at it from a spectator's perspective, which is a little bit annoying, but it happens. It's all good. So yeah, I'm pushing the mid lane at the moment. Lucian and Nami are both trying to capitalize on me overextending here. And the Jarvan as well. You can see the ultimate gets used and everything gets used as well. You can see how much shielding I got. I have nearly more shielding than my actual health. So the Lulu shield's really coming in clutch. You can see how much damage I'm doing to the Lucian as well. I'm trying to use my third ability to try and jump away from the Jace, to try and get the damage off with the ultimate. Unfortunately, was able to. But look at all the low health members. I get 1 kill here. I swing in. I go in for another kill. And I'm trying to get as many kills as possible. I can see the Lucian behind me. I'm going to get another kill into Lucian, which means I get another swing. I swing forward again. I try and kill the Jace. Protobelt forward as well. I get another kill, the triple kill. And I get another reset on my third ability. And you can see here, I'm trying to kill the Nami here with all the shields and everything on the other side from the Lulu. I dodged the ultimate as well. You see, Lulu ultimate, boom, runs straight in, and that is the quadra kill. And that just shows that if you get loads of low members on the enemy side as an Akshan, you're able to just swing around, get the resets on the heroic swing as well, and just keep swinging and dealing a lot of damage. Especially with the crit build as well, your swings and your heroic swing will deal a lot of damage. You can see at this time as well, my team is taking the Baron as we're taking the top lane Hib. We're going to back off now. There you go. The Baron has been taken. Unfortunately, these things got executed from the Baron, but it's all good. But now, as you can see with my build, I'm full build now. I've got all the items I need. I have my Infinity Edge and my Solari Charge Base, my crit items. So every time I use an ability now, I basically get 75% crit chance, which is awesome. Got the Wits End for the extra attack speed, a little bit of magic resistance. I got the Mortal Reminder as well for the healing reduction and for the armor penetration. And then we have Blade the Rune King there as well. As you can see, Master Yi trying to go in here, trying to make a big play. A little bit of an overstep and a little bit of an overstep from me as well, as I have to flash away because I didn't realize that there were multiple members. And as you can see, I'm in a little bit of a difficult spot here. But as you can see, I proc my passive and I'm able to get the kill. Again, using my passive, using my first ability is really, really important. You see, I can try and get a little bit of extra damage as well with my ultimate. And this has just turned into basically an ARAM. The Fizz is going to try and jump in here. I'm pretty sure the Fizz jumps in and just dies, like he's done like 20 times this game already. You see he's jumping in. But for me, I've got Lulu by my side. I've got my passive as well. You can see, I think the Lulu has a locket as well at the same time. And I'm just going to keep on getting resets with my third ability. Master Yi's jumping in as well. I'm getting more shields with my Lulu as well. Dodge the Nami bubble. I can see the Jace as well, really, really low. I'm jumping to Jace. Get another kill there as well. We are now legendary. which makes us 11, 0, and 2. You can see my top laner. My top laner this game was 1 and 13, but we were able to carry the game and get the victory with duo lane Akshan, which was one of the, one of my best games that I think I've ever had on this game. Just being able to carry a game like that, solo carry, and you can see the damage he ended as well. 46,000 damage for me, which is way above anyone else in the rest of the game. So it just proves that sometimes you can carry on these sort of champions. As you can see, 11, 0, and 2. Insane carry performance. Really, really fun game to play. Hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown as well. As always, make sure you stay tuned for the next Wild Rift guide, which will be Alistar, which will be coming out very, very soon. So take care, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace.